You know, they say baldness is God's way of saying, now you're so good looking, I need to tone it down a bit. It's like a natural hat, a shiny dome of glory that's bestowed upon only the most handsome of us. Now let's talk about some of the misconceptions that people have about baldness. First off, there's this idea that wearing hats can make you go bald. I mean, really, if that were true, then every baseball player and detective from those old black and white movies would be as bald as a billiard ball. Hats are just a fashion statement, folks, not a hair removal technique. Then there's the belief that baldness is a sign of virility. Now, let's get something straight. Being bald doesn't automatically make you a superhero. Sure, there are plenty of bald badasses out there, but it's not the baldness that makes them so. It's their character, their courage, their tenacity. So if you're thinking of shaving your head to boost your macho image, remember, it's not the hair that makes the man. And let's not forget the old wives' tale that stress causes baldness. If that were the case, then every student during finals week would be showing off a shiny new scalp. The truth is, baldness is mostly about genetics. So if you're stressed about going bald, well, you might want to have a chat with your ancestors. Now, on to the most hilarious of all, the idea that a man wearing a wig can fool people into thinking he has a full head of hair. I mean, come on. It's like putting a toupee on a bowling ball and expecting people to think it's a hairy coconut. It just doesn't work that way, folks. So remember, next time you see a bald man, don't assume he's just forgotten his hat. Baldness is not a curse, it's a crown of distinction. It's a sign that you've been chosen to be part of the elite club of the chrome domes. And let's be real, who needs hair when you can have a shiny, glorious scalp? But hey, if baldness is nature's way of leveling the playing field, wigs are mankind's way of saying, nice try, but we still want to play. Now let's delve into the world of wigs, or as I like to call them, the head's little toupees. You see, some men, when confronted with the bald truth, choose to wig out, literally. They'd rather endure the itch of synthetic hair than embrace the shine of their scalp. Picture this, a man, a wig, and a gust of wind. The perfect recipe for a comedic disaster. You're walking down the street, the wind is blowing, and suddenly, whoosh, a furry creature takes flight. No, it's not a squirrel, it's a toupee, soaring through the air like a hairy kite. And let's not forget about the wig wearers who are stuck in a time warp. They're sporting hairdos that were fashionable back when the Beatles were still a thing. You know the type. The hair is too big, too thick, too much. It's like they've got a shag carpet perched on their head. Then there's the wig that's so obvious it might as well come with a neon sign saying fake hair alert. It's the one that doesn't match the eyebrows or the beard, or the one that's just a shade too perfect. It's the wig that looks like it was borrowed from a mannequin or a 1970s disco dancer. And how about the wig mishaps? The ones that slip, slide, or tilt at an unnatural angle, making the wearer look like they've got a lopsided mop on their head. Or the wig that gets caught in a tree branch, or worse, in someone else's coat button. But you know what? No matter how obvious or hilarious the wig situation might be, you've got to give these guys credit. It takes courage to face the world with a head full of fake hair. So, if you see a man with a suspiciously perfect hairline, just remember, it might be a hairy situation. Now, some men think that wearing a wig is like having an invisibility cloak for their baldness. And you know what? That's not entirely wrong. But here's the catch. It's like an invisibility cloak made out of saran wrap and duct tape. It's like trying to hide an elephant under a beach towel. Sure, it covers the top, but there's a whole lot of elephant still on show. Let's take a stroll down memory lane. Once upon a time, there was a man named Bob. Bob was bald. Not just any kind of bald. Bob was as bald as a baby's bottom, but Bob had a secret weapon, a wig he named Harry. Bob believed that Harry was his magical hairpiece, his ticket to a full head of hair. But alas, Harry was not as discreet as Bob thought. You see, Harry had a mind of his own. On windy days, Harry would do the cha-cha slide right off Bob's head. In the middle of a business meeting, Harry would suddenly decide to take a nap on the conference table. And let's not forget the time when Harry decided to go for a swim in the public pool, leaving Bob treading water with a shiny dome. But here's the thing about Bob and many others like him. They are so committed to the art of deception. They've convinced themselves that their headgear is as natural as the nose on their face. They strut around town, heads high, wigs higher, oblivious to the chuckles and side glances. And who are we to burst their bubble? After all, isn't the world a better place with a bit of humor and a lot of hair, real or otherwise? Let's give it up for the Bobs of the world, the brave men who throw caution to the wind quite literally, because in the end, it's not about the hair on your head, but the confidence in your stride. So the next time you see a wig flying off in the wind, don't be surprised. It's just a bald man's invisibility cloak malfunctioning. But there's a whole unspoken etiquette when it comes to wigs. Rule number 1, never ever pull off a man's wig. It's like yanking the sword from King Arthur. Not cool, folks, not cool. Now let's talk about rule number 2. Always compliment a man's wig, even if it looks like a rabid raccoon has taken up residence on his head. You just smile and say, "Wow, Bob, your hair is looking exceptionally voluminous today." It's all about the diplomacy, my friends. Moving on to rule number 3. Never ask a man if he's wearing a wig. That's like asking a woman her age or a magician his secrets. Some things are better left unsaid. If you're really curious, look for the telltale signs. Is his hairline sitting somewhere near his eyebrows? Is his hair suspiciously glossy? Does he look like he's got a small woodland creature on his head? If yes, then bingo, you've got a wig wearer. Rule number 4 is a golden one. If a man's wig falls off in public, you do not laugh. You do not point. You do not take a selfie with a fallen hairpiece. You simply look away, pretend you saw nothing, and carry on with your day. It's the wig equivalent of the walk of shame. Now, the 5th and final rule. If you're a man wearing a wig, own it. There's no shame in wanting a full head of hair. Just remember to secure it properly. You don't want to be doing the moonwalk and leave your hairpiece behind. That's not the kind of hair-raising experience you want to give people. You see, wigs are much more than just hair pieces. They're like a secret identity, a shield against the world, a beacon of hope for those follically challenged. They're a testament to man's eternal struggle against baldness, a symbol of our unyielding spirit in the face of adversity. So the next time you see a man with a suspiciously lush head of hair, don't smirk. Instead, tip your hat to him, because he's not just wearing a wig, he's wearing his pride. Remember, it's not just a wig, it's a man's crown and glory. So after all this, what have we learned about men, baldness, and wigs? Well, quite a lot, actually. Let's sum it all up in our own unique and humorous way, shall we? First up, we've learned that baldness is as natural as the sun rising in the east, unless you're standing on your head, in which case you probably have bigger issues to worry about than hair loss. But hey, to each his own. We've also discovered that wigs are like secret agents for the follically challenged. They sneak onto the scene, making a stealthy entrance, and bam, suddenly you've got a full head of hair. It's like magic, but without the rabbits or the fancy hat. Although a fancy hat could also hide baldness, just saying. We've explored the art of deception, where men with wigs become masters of disguise. They're not just John or Dave anymore. They're Fabio, the Italian stallion with the flowing locks, or Thor, the god of thunder and impressive hairdos. And let's not forget the wig etiquettes. Remember, folks, if you're going to wear a wig, wear it with confidence. Own it, flash it. But for the love of all that's hairy, please make sure it matches your eyebrows. There's nothing more suspicious than a man with jet black hair and snow white brows. It's like a zebra trying to pass off as a horse. So in conclusion, we've laughed, we've learned, and we've probably offended a few wig manufacturers along the way. But remember, it's all in good fun, because at the end of the day, it's not the hair or the lack thereof that defines a man. In the end, whether you're bald, wigged, or somewhere in between, remember, it's not the hair that makes the man, but the man that makes the hair, or at least buys it.